Bear in mind that it's important for you to lift heavy if you want to build maximum muscle, but it's not the only way for you to build muscle. Some people in the gym lift very heavy, but when you look at the amount of muscle they are building relative to how heavy they train, it doesn't seem to make sense. So some people tend to lift heavy weights because they just improve their lifting technique, maybe the way they used to place their feet or the way they leverage themselves in space or how they position themselves, and so they can lift heavier weights without even putting on muscle. And so what is changing is just the way they lift. They become better at lifting, but that does not promote muscle growth, not until they increase protein intake. To build muscle, you might need something like 1.5 grams per kilogram of lean body weight, up to something like 2.2 grams. What you put on your plate is just as important as how much weight you're lifting in the gym. The other group of people is just people who've been misinformed. They think that for you to build muscle, you have to lift as heavy as possible. Most likely, this kind of people don't have a training plan and they continuously tend to lift very heavy weights. But sticking to that kind of training for so long tends to make your body to get adapted to that kind of training. And so there's no added stimulus or even demand for your body to develop even more muscle. And so your body adapts to that kind of training. So what ends up happening is that you develop strength in your tendons, ligaments, and even connective tissues. Your CNS system becomes so good at performing those exercises. You develop endurance and also systematic adaptations, which makes you to just continually lift heavy without seeing any progress. This could be much more difficult for advanced people because sometimes they've almost reached their genetic potential, and no matter what they do, they cannot make so much progress. So bear in mind that it's important for you to lift heavy if you want to build maximum muscle, but it's not the only way for you to build muscle. You can keep the same weight that you've been lifting and try to increase your repetitions, increase your sets, and try to increase your proximity to failure or even go beyond failure. You can do drop set, you can do myo reps, you can do supersets, you can reduce the amount of time or rest time between your sets, you can increase your training frequency. So all these are ways in which you can increase muscle without lifting too heavy and avoid injury, unnecessary fatigue, and still have the body of your dream. So when you're training without a well-structured plan, it's just like shooting in the dark, hoping to hit your target. Another thing that can make you to not build muscle as you train heavy is ego lifting. Most of this kind of training is propagated by people wanting to maybe draw attention from people or even to impress other people, and sometimes even just for their male ego, like to feel they're strong. The problem with this kind of training is that people use momentum and also they do bouncing and also use improper technique, which means that they're not paying attention to the way the muscles are working. They're not using the mind to muscle connection. They don't tend to slow the reps down so that they can increase the tension on the muscle. They don't try to slow the weight on the eccentric movement. So they mostly focus on the concentric movement of the set, which is like the lifting part. But if they can slow down a little bit, try to get more in control of their movement and try to get in sync with the movement, then they would build more muscle, even though they would have to reduce the amount of weight they are using during training for them to achieve this. So it can take something away from them. When people are used to you lifting very heavy weights and now they see you lifting less weights, they would think maybe you're weak. And so it becomes very difficult for people who are known to be strong men in the gym to switch gears and start lifting lighter. So you can cut down the amount of weight you're using and then try to use the proper technique, pay more attention to exercise biomechanics, and over time, if you do this, you might start also adding weight onto the bar, and gradually you can come back to the amount of weight you used to lift before, but even with a bigger body and even a stronger body. 3 most important things I can tell you when you're trying to build muscle is train hard, recover well, and be consistent. So if there's anything you think I've left out, let me know in the comment section, and see you in the next one.